yakijima. Is that
Yeah.
All right, coach.
Okay, I know, Coach Gunjani. Coach, welcome, Coach, to Wisdom Revelation, Coach. It's nice to have you back.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be back. So happy to be serving the Financial Wisdom Revelations family.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Coach. Coach, today we've got a very interesting topic, Coach. I will just maybe be in the black community, Coach. This thing of wills, having wills in place. These are this is a document that we most ignore. But when someone passes on, things become chaotic within the families. The relationships are broken, Coach. So, Coach, can you tell us briefly that why is will so important?
Sure. I like where you started. I mean, you're starting and you're saying that in the Black communities, the African communities, we are not accustomed to leaving wills to our families.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so important for us to just step back a bit and look at it from a South African context. It may look like it's a Black African statistic, but it actually isn't. 80% or more of South Africans, these are South Africans in general, whether they're working or not working, in general, do not have a will.
Mm-hmm.
And out of those 80%, that are from the 80%, those who are working, some of them might have wills. And for those who do have those wills, they don't even update the wills. So a lot of our circumstances change, but then we don't amend those changes. But we're gonna get into that. So let me start by answering your question. It is such an important document. I think in the financial services sector, when it comes to people managing their finances, it is such a big challenge. It's like an underdog. It's a document that has just been frowned upon. And the importance of having a will, it's almost like you signing off and saying to your family or your loved ones or the ones you care about, saying, you know what, goodbye. It's your final voice, your final farewell to say, listen, I lived my life. I lived it full. I may not have lived it full, but the little that I could do, this is what I would like you to do with it. This is what I'm leaving you with. I'd like you to continue where I left off and move on from there. So think of it as a present that you leave, when you check out of this world, and a lot of us, we're afraid with dealing with it because you start thinking, hey, yeah, now I must think about my death.
Yes.
Think about my death. And in the African families, you think of lefu la ka la mphidisa, lefu la
Yes.
hao la phidisa. And again, remember I said in the previous bit, in our previous interview, why are you living if you in a community, if you in a family network are not there, to make the lives of those around you a little easier, because you've gone through certain challenges, you've found solutions for those challenges, and you are leaving your family better off than where you were left off. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There's a baton that we need to pass on. There's a financial baton we need to pass on, and having a valid will. So it's also important. Some people do have wills, but they're not valid at the time that they pass on.
And that cause, how do we make it valid? Because when I did my research, I can write my own will and sign it, and someone should not be present when I write that will, but at the same time I should have the witnesses to validate that will. How does it work exactly?
Such an important question. So when you do write your will, it is important that you are not influenced by anyone, because obviously if you're going to share me with certain things, I mustn't be there.
Yeah.
I mustn't be influencing, you know, good say, hey, I want your whole wardrobe, you know. I want
Yes.
your investment, you know. So
Mm.
so yes, it's an intimate document that you need to write on your own. Once you've gone through what you are giving to who, how you're going to have your assets distributed, then once you've completed the document, it needs for it to be valid, it needs to have witnesses who sign it off. And those witnesses it needs to be there needs to be two different witnesses, and the witnesses need to be people as well that are not inheriting. They cannot,
Mm.
their names cannot appear in the will. So these are people who have nothing to do with the assets that you know that you're going to be distributing.
Yeah.
So yeah, by law you need two witnesses to witness the completion of that a will, to make it a valid document.
Oh, thank you, Coach. So, Coach, another thing, what exactly should be in a will? What should reflect in a will? What's the most important thing that should reflect in a will?
You know, to make it less complex,
Mm,
because
yeah.
you know, a lot of people are afraid of even dealing with wills because it becomes complex, it becomes complicated.
Mm,
um the more you have more assets,
yeah.
it becomes complicated. The more you have you know a more complex family dynamic. For an example, if
Okay.
you have more than one wife, if
Yeah.
you have children with multiple partners, it
Mm,
becomes a bit complex as well. You know, if you've got, you know, businesses and things like, it becomes a little complex. um
mm,
but let's just think of just a simple will.
yeah.
Let's take the root of a, there's nothing complex about it. So you are just literally taking on what it is that you value.
Mm,
What have you accrued over your life,
mhm,
you know, over your entire lifespan?
mm,
What of that do you value? What of it do you look at as assets that you've acquired over time?
mhm,
And who would you want to inherit that? Who would you want to have that? You
mm,
know.
mm,
So let me just think. When I talk basics, let me think in African, in our African communities. We always have the ideas of impahla, you know, the
yeah.
clothes. who
Yes.
who who takes the wardrobe?
Mm,
And usually, if it's a fashionista, everybody wants the wardrobe. So there
mhm,
are those pieces that, you know what, for me as a mom, I'm a mom. You know, I'm also an aunt. There are
mm,
certain pieces that I know, hey, you know what, this one, I've had a conversation with my daughter. She asked me, "Ukuthi yazi ngiyayicela, I'd like these pieces
yeah.
of outfits, mommy, these shoes, this bag, you know, these accessories. This is what I'd like." So this is just you outlining, you know, this and that and that and that. I wanted to go to so and so. You know, we talk about, for me, my with my children. You know, I have a 7-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter. We talk about my car. You
Mm,
know, who's gonna take my car? You know, who wants it? You know. So, you know, there's already those plans, which, you know what, you know, should I check out of this, you know, of this planet, of this universe right now, who's going to inherit my car? you
yeah.
know
Yeah.
you know, things like that. You know, from my investments, who's inheriting which investment?
Yes.
um you know, if you've got a, you know, insurance policies like a life cover,
Mm,
those, you know, how is what's the outline of those of that life cover? You've got to break down to the level of, if I have, you know, 5 million rands, that
mm,
5 million rands, how is it allocated? Where is it going? What's going to happen with it? What, you know, how much of it is allocated to my children's education? How much of it is allocated to you know, to the day-to-day living of
mm,
my children? Who's going to be the responsible guardian that I'm going to be leaving behind? That's important. I think for a person who is a parent and has children, one of the key things and the difficult things is sometimes we don't think about the simple thing about who's going to take care of my children, you know.
Yes.
And the other things that we look at in terms of who's going to take care of your children, if I live in a, you know, in a home where my children have their own bedroom,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And I leave them with a family that live, let's say they are a family of, you know, three, it's a mother and a father, they have a child, and they live in a 3-bedroom house. I need to make sure that they are able to accommodate my children.
yeah.
So
Mm,
I need to make provision as well.
mm,
Guti,
mm.
kwamele bakwazi uku-extenda so
Yes,
that there's enough
yes.
room.
Mm,
Or they must be, you know, my house, they could be able to move into that house.
mm.
There's certain intricacies that you need to look at, and you detail these things in your will. You know, when you are raising your, as a parent, when you're
Yeah.
raising your children, there's certain living standards, there's certain lifestyles, there's certain
Mm.
personal choices that you've made for your children. How are those personal choices going to continue beyond your existence?
Oh,
You know,
amen.
when
Yes.
as for us as Africans, I know I grew up in a 3-roomed house, and there were 7 of us,
Mm,
you know,
mm,
in the 3-roomed house.
mm,
You know, it was my parents, it was my siblings, it was me, it was my aunt, and my cousin. And look, listen, we lived very happily.
mm, mm, mm,
Is it right?
mm. Yes.
We lived really, really happily. Um, but as we grew, as my parents, you know, did more, my dad delved into entrepreneurship, my mom had a corporate career
Mm,
in the health industry. And you know, as they progressed, we moved into a bigger house. In this bigger house, we all the kids, we ended up having our own bedrooms, you
mm,
know.
mm.
And you know, we started going to better schools, you know, instead of ikolo zasekasi, we
Yes.
started going into multiracial schools. That
Mm,
costs money, you know what I
mm,
mean? The
mm,
person you're leaving your kids with, do they understand where you are going in terms of how you want to raise your children, in terms of the
mm,
type of education style you want to provide to your children?
mm.
Do they understand that that's what you leave in your will?
Ah, thank you. Thank you,
Your
coach.
dreams and your aspirations for your children, what you
Yes.
are working towards, that needs to be maintained. And also, you need to be well on that journey to be able to maintain it. I don't know,
Then
does that make sense?
it makes sense, coach, and it's so much in detail, coach.
Mm.
And and uh, and another thing that, coach, that I think is we are experiencing is just that we think death is something that is far away from us, and the issues of drafting a will, we postpone it now and then, and when it's too late, boom, you are gone. So how can we have that agency of saying, you know what, let me sit down and get my business together and really do this will and draft this will? How can we have that sense of agency?
So it's one of the biggest challenges that we have in the country. You know, it's I would say you know, I would say it's a crisis.
Mm,
It's a real crisis because uh, let's talk about the after effects. You know, when you don't have a will, what happens is the people you care about, that you've left behind, are not going to be taken care of in the way that you would have wished for them to be taken care of if
mm,
you were there.
mm, mm,
So now they become somebody else's responsibility.
mm,
And when they become someone else's responsibility, what guarantee do you have that they also hold the same wants, wishes, desires for your loved ones the way that you hold them?
mm, mm,
You don't have that guarantee. You know, the other, you know, the other big challenge is you also don't kind of hold yourself accountable.
mm.
you know, to you, from a financial planning perspective, you're not
Mm,
holding yourself accountable to saying, you know what, I have this will in place. I've
mm,
set this will in place so that it can take care. It can outline how my family or my loved ones are going to be taken care of.
mm,
What inheritance is going to who, how it's going to be, what percentages, and all of that, you know, and all of that information.
mm,
Um, you know, when you don't do that, it creates family feuds. We've seen
mm,
this so many times. Families are split
mm,
because of money, and then we come back and we say things like money is the root of all evil, and it's not money.
mm,
It's how we are distributing the money when it
mhm,
comes, you know, to a case where there is that money to be distributed.
mm, mm,
You know,
mm,
these
mm.
are conversations that we need to, number one, have with ourselves so that we can get to the point of drafting that will. And it's also important to have those conversations with our family, with our families. We're
Mm,
so afraid of death to the point
yes,
where it paralyzes us not to be able to even think beyond it. Because
yeah,
once you are gone, there is still life that continues without you.
it's true.
So look, it's a national problem. It's a national crisis, and we've got to get to being serious about it. And it's an individual thing. Hey, it's
Mm,
really an individual thing. When I looked at the stats, these stats in terms of people dying without valid wills have spanned across 30 years of the financial services industry, um, you know, being professional,
mm,
being in existence.
yeah,
30 years. So for a
mm,
financial planner who's been in the industry for 30 years, for 3 decades, they've experienced the stats not decreasing, not increasing, in
mm,
terms of people, having wills and making sure that when they do have them, they are valid.
mm,
So for me, I would like to you know to to plea,
yeah,
ucela
mm,
abantu,
mm, mm,
ngiyanicela,
mm,
start with that will. We're
yeah,
quick to jump on the investments. We're quick to
mm,
jump on your life insurance. We're quick
mm,
to jump on the insurance in your house, contents insurance, short-term insurance. We're quick to jump on medical aid. We're quick to
mm,
jump on disability covers. We're quick to jump on all of those wonderful products,
mm,
but we're not as quick to act on our wills. It's
ah,
great to have all of these amazing things in place, but what's the point if there's nobody to inherit it? What is the point?
yes.
What is the
Oh,
point? And if COVID, the season of COVID now,
mm,
has not opened the eyes of our people right now, what will? We can see people are literally losing family members left, right, and center. And no, it's
mm,
not, deaths are not happening just because of COVID. There's
mm,
other, natural deaths that are just taking place,
mm, mm,
as per the norm. We're losing family members left, right, and center. That should be the trigger for us. Wuti, my house is not in order. I need to sort my stuff
mm,
out.
Thank you, coach. And coach, in a for couples, coach, uh, my partner, should we have two wills where she writes her own will, where I write my own will, or we can sit together and write our will in case should one of us leave first?
Sure, it's advisable to have individual wills. Hey,
Okay.
it really is advisable to have individual wills. You can write the wills together, so
Mm, mm,
they can be concurrent, they can be interlinked. You'll find that because you're a couple, there's similarities in the will,
mm,
you know.
mm.
But it really is advisable to have it individual. it's
Okay.
it's it's advisable.
Okay. Thank you, coach. And coach, how do we appoint an executor? That's a challenge that I think
Oh,
is not really clear.
that's such a big one. So I've seen this, and I've seen this as well in my own family.
Mm,
what we do as Africans, we appoint family members as executors. And one of the things that we don't think of is being an executor is actually, it's a profession on its own. It's a profession on its own. Being an executor, you need to know the ins and outs of of estate planning laws. You need to know the ins and outs of where you need to go, who you need to be speaking to in the courts. You need to you need to know the ins and outs of the process of wrapping up an estate. And a lot of the times, the people that we leave as executors, honestly, have no idea. They've got no idea what to do. And you find now, when people are being left, family members are being left as executors, they are running from pillar to post, and it takes longer to wind up the estate. It takes longer for those who need to inherit what they need to inherit. It takes longer for those who need to live. Children under 18, it takes longer to wrap that up, because you have the least understanding of of what your role is as an executor. So a lot of the insurance houses actually have built in executors. These are people who are professionally placed. These are people who are provided with support in-house within the insurance house and within the industry. They know the ins and outs of the laws. When the laws change, they are on the ball. They know exactly what to do, how to do it, when to do it. They know who to gather what information from, and they actually assist you to wrap up the estate a lot sooner than what it does in terms of when you have a family member. It drags out a lot less longer.
Yes, something that I've experienced, that this estate thing takes maybe 8 months if there's no will in place, if things are not really properly planned.
It can take years, hey? Some estates have taken years. And I think another thing is, we mustn't think, Puti, what happens is it's people who are not intelligent, who don't have wills, it's people like you and me, like it's everyday South Africans. I mean, the other day there was a financial planner who passed away without a will. That's a person who knows better.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? There was an advocate. These are cases that we're dealing with. There's an advocate as well that just passed away with no will. So don't say, and I hear this a lot with our African people, Wuti, but I mean, I don't have anything. I don't have nothing, so I don't need to have a will. No, start with what you've got.
Yeah, we thought that the will is for rich people.
It's not. That's a myth. We need to demystify that myth. Whatever it is that you've got, Mauti, this is lazy.
Yes.
You pride yourself with these things. They've got to have when you check out of the planet. So that's how we need to teach ourselves.
Coach. Coach, there's something that I came across. There is a living will and a testamentary will. A living will, they say, in case of maybe I've been hit by a stroke, I can't now speak. Now, is it really important to have these two wills, a living will and the one when I'm gone?
Very important. Think about it in this situation. You have been, let's say you don't have a living will. You've been hospitalized and you cannot speak for yourself. And the decision that you have made with God is that, listen, when I get to a point where I can't speak, I do not want machines to keep me alive. Right?
Yeah.
God, when you've said it's time, I can't speak, I can't do nothing. The only thing that's keeping me alive is machines. And because my family love me so much, they will gather, the elders of the family, they will gather, they will make a decision on my behalf. Would you know, I keep those machines, keep them on. This person must be living. I'm living, I'm a machine. For me, if I had to make that decision, I would not want that. I would want those machines to be switched off. I would want you guys to say farewell to me, bid me farewell, let me go. That's the importance of a living will. The living will is your voice when you cannot voice whatever your opinion is about the situation that you are in, the health situation that you are in. That's what it is. You specify in this kind of scenario, this is how I want you guys to respond. In this kind of scenario, this is how I want you to respond. You know, if it, you know, you there's specific scenarios, and you say, family, I know I love you, but when it comes to the situation, me, I want to check out. Get sharp.
Great, coach. I have on this information, coach. And coach, another question that I have is, when I have investment from different companies, is it important then to have two wills? Because each company has got their template when it comes to drafting wills, you know. And there is an area where I find to be complicated, that how do I now draft only one will that will speak for me? But each company will say, you can have a will with us. Another company will say, you can also have a will with us.
So that's like, you know, when you go and buy bread in the bread aisle, you'll find Bani, you'll find No Name, you'll find, I don't know what else is there. What else? You'll find different brands, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately it's bread, right? It
Yes.
serves a purpose. You know, it serves a purpose. It's seeing.
Yes.
So insurance companies will create their different templates. There's nothing wrong with them creating different templates. Banks also do that. There's nothing wrong. In actual fact, them creating templates, it's them trying to be proactive to help you to be able to fill in the necessary information that they know that is going to be needed for your will to be drafted.
Yes.
Hey, there's a plane over my head.
Okay.
So we've got a private flyer here over the
No
plot.
problem, coach.
Okay, so so there's different templates. There's nothing wrong with having different templates. It's you having different options from the different insurance houses, from the different banks that provided for you. There are actually companies that only specifically deal with wills because of this low stats of people nationally who don't have wills. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. The only thing that you need to be aware of is there can only be one original.
Oh, okay.
One original, nothing else. When we wind up your estate, we need to find that one original, and it has to be stored in a place that we know where we're going to find it. So that's why, again, it's important. If you have your will with a reputable company that is stored away with a reputable company, it's easier to locate. You know exactly where it is. And if it's stored away with a specific insurance company, then you know that they will assign an executor because you've been paying fees to actually keep it stored away.
Nice, coach. Yes, coach. Yes, and then you touch on filing. That's something that I wanted to ask you, but yeah, you've covered the filing it, and the cost involved when it comes to drafting a will. Which one, maybe for someone who's ordinary, no, doesn't have much money, where can they go? To the bank? Is it cheaper, or find another company that they can pay a fair price?
Hey. So as a financial advisor, I can't say things like that.
Okay.
As a financial planner, I can't say things like that. But again, it all depends on you. What are you comfortable with? You know, there's some people that I've dealt with who say, you know what, I prefer having everything under one place.
Mm,
So,
mm.
you know, my insurance policies are with X company, and I just prefer everything to be there so that when I need to wind everything up, I just go to one place. There are some people who will say, I want this product there, I want my will there, because I don't want all my eggs in one basket. Some people
Yeah.
will say, you know what, because I bank with this bank and they've been so good to me, I want
Mm.
my will to stay with them. So it all depends on what you as an individual prefer. There are institutions that will offer you a free will.
Okay.
It will be free to, to set up. It will be free, you know. The challenge with the free will is at some point you're going to be paying for that, and
Mm.
you pay for it once you've checked out, when we're
Yeah.
wrapping up there. So either way, it's either you decide, do you want to not pay for it now, or do you want to pay for it once you've checked out? The choice is really yours. So be wary of when somebody says free. What does a free actually mean? So if I've passed on, what happens? What costs will there be incurred when my
Mm.
estate is being wrapped up? You
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
ask those kind of questions.
Oh, I know. Thank you, coach. And coach, another thing that I've come across is in case you don't have a will and you pass on, and the family started to check where you invested your money, they go from Capitec to FNB to any other those investment companies. Um, is there a report that one can get to in order to check where maybe our past person was investing money instead of going from door to door?
The answer is a yes and a no.
Okay.
So there is an organization that we use as financial planners in the financial
Mm,
services industry, where we kind of source information in terms of where you have different policies and all of that stuff. But
mm.
unfortunately, not everything pulls through. So not all
Oh.
company information pulls through. The only
Mm.
way is for you to actually create your own document.
Okay.
Each individual. I encourage this. I do this with my um, with my clients.
Mm,
Once we start working together, there is a special document with all your personalized information that has a run through of what is needed, should anything happen to you. Who do you
mm,
contact? All of that stuff. Which companies do you need to engage with? So that whoever is the custodian of wrapping these things up has that
mm,
information. You
mm,
also need to know where this document is stored. There's got to be
mm,
someone in the family that knows all of the stuff, that can either
mm.
hand it over to an executor, or if not, that can either hand it over to the financial planner, because usually financial planners are the ones that will do the runaround.
Yeah.
If you have a financial planner, or whoever you've appointed as your executor of the state will have that information. So it's a process you need to start now when you're alive. You cannot be relying. It's almost like you are outsourcing, all the groundwork that you've been doing throughout your entire life. You're outsourcing it to
Mm,
someone else, and this is how people don't get to inherit what their family members have worked for,
mm,
because
mm,
your your hard work,
mm,
your wealth creation tactics, it's
mm,
all scattered. Your investments are here and there, but nobody knows about them. Nobody rounds them off in the family the way
mm.
that they need to be rounded off. That's why having a will is important, because in the will, all of this information is actually rounded off.
Ah, thank you, coach. It seems like, again, coach, from what I'm hearing, it's good also as a family to have that list and the contact people that, hey, should anything happen, please call this a financial advisor or this financial planner.
That's correct.
Ah, no, thanks, coach. Thanks, coach. Coach, I think we have answered all my questions and I've learned so much wisdom from you, coach. And keep up doing the good work, coach.
Thank you, coach. There's one thing that I think is very important that we didn't touch on,
Mm,
and this is you know, a lot of the times when we have policies, we always, and I see this a lot in our African culture,
Mm.
we always put our children under 18 as beneficiaries.
Yeah.
We
Wow.
need to be very careful of that.
Mm.
And the reason why we need to be careful of that is that children who are 18, under 18 years of age in South
Mm.
Africa
Mm.
cannot inherit cash.
Okay.
By law, they cannot inherit cash.
Mm.
So a guardian needs to be appointed for that child,
Mm.
or if a guardian is not appointed, there needs to be a trust that is opened for for taking care of that child, where the funds will be put into the trust, and there will be not one person but a group of people who are responsible for
Mm.
ensuring that the inheritance is allocated to the different needs that this.
Mm. Coach, come back. Coach.